Welcome to the Running Back Podcast, where we run back everything from the 80s and 90s. I'm Jason.
I'm Sarah.
And today we are running back Tombstone from 1993.
True?
I figured you would say something.
This is our 25th episode, and I think in about 24 of them, you've mentioned that it's one of your favorite movies.
It is. And I think today I realized why it's one of my favorite movies.
Why?
Because a lot of people get called out on their bullshit.
I see.
Like, a lot of people.
A lot of people get called out on their bullshit.
Yeah. Alright, so the movie opens up.
Oh, here, let me hit play. So we have it on mute in the background. We've already watched it.
So the movie opens up with a narration of what I'm guessing they've made into like an old silent film almost, with a narrator over it.
The narrator is Robert Meacham, who's famous for all of his Western movies.
Alright, so he opens up and he's telling you a little bit about the people that are going to be in this movie and a little bit about Tombstone.
How the Cowboys got together and formed the earliest organized crime in America. They wore the red sashes. About Doc Holliday and about Wyatt Earp.
And then it kind of goes into it, and the Cowboys roll into a wedding of a Mexican police officer.
Right.
And nobody kind of really knows they're there. As the bride and groom are walking out, the Cowboys are already there, and the leader, Curly Bill, kind of has two sashes. So he just kind of tosses them up in the air and lets them fall to the ground, and kind of looks at everybody's little stare down for a little bit. Then they just start shooting. Basically, they kill all of the male people except for the bridegroom and the cleric. Is he a priest?
Yeah.
So at the end of that, the priest is just kind of spouting off in Spanish to him. Who is the guy that doesn't really speak Spanish well?
I don't know, the guy that doesn't speak Spanish well.
Which is weird. Curly Bill asked him.
He kind of looks Mexican, right?
Curly Bill asked him. He's like, "What's he saying?" He's like
something about a sick horse.
Something. Well, he's like talking about revenge and a sick horse. And Ringo's just like, it's not what he said. He's like, your English is Spanish is worse than your English, and he just kind of walks away.
Well, they leave the groom alive, but then
they want him to get on his knees, and he wouldn't.
Right, so they shoot him in the leg, and then they eventually kill him, and then they drag the bride into the church. I'm assuming they're raping this lady in a church?
Probably not good. But right before they shot the guy, the groom tells him to go to hell, and Curly Bill says, "You first," and shoots him right in the head.
Right. They walk over to, like, the table of food they've prepared for the wedding. They're like, shit, I guess they knew we were coming. And that's when Curly Bill asks Ringo what the priest actually said. And the priest is yelling at him that they can't be there, and I can't believe you did this, and you're not going to get away with this. And Ringo just turns around and shoots him in the head. No
fuss, no muss. He just turns around. He's tired of listening to him.
Right. But he tells him he's talking about Revelations and the pale horse that death rides, and
"Behold the pale horse, the man who sat on him was death, and hell followed with him."
Right.
So then it cuts to Tucson, where Wyatt and his family, they met up in Tucson. Like they're all traveling to Tombstone, but they meet at the train station in Tucson.
They ride in on an actual crazy train. The train's number is 5150, which is like the California code for a psychiatric hold. I just thought it was funny that it was a crazy train.
But when it cuts to that, you see a horse, and the horse is kind of being whipped by
a douche,
and Wyatt Earp just grabs it, smacks him with it. It's like, hurts, don't it? And it basically tells him to get away from the horse.
Right.
So that's number one of people being caught on the bullshit.
Oh, I see. But they've been off the train for like 2 minutes in Tucson before a guy in Tucson walks up to him and asks him to be some law
Well, he doesn't even get as far as
there.
asking that. He was like, not interested, and walks away.
So all the brothers and all their wives meet up. His brothers are Virgil and Morgan. His wife, Wyatt Earp's wife's name is Maddie. And who the fuck knows or cares what the other wives are?
Allie and somebody else.
Yeah,
but the
first
first guy trying to guilt Wyatt into it, said, I never saw a rich man who didn't have a guilty conscience. And Wyatt just looks at him and says, I already have a guilty conscience. I might as well have the money too.
There you go.
So everybody's kind of there all together, and they're kind of happy at the fact that they're all together.
They're looking at themselves in the glass of a store.
The reflection.
Yeah. Kind of like today's selfies. Oh my god, let's take a selfie! But so, Maddie is, an addict.
Yeah, you find a little bit more later, but...
But right off the bat, the second you meet her character, she's jonesing.
Oh, yeah. She's like, she tells Wyatt she couldn't find any laudanum in the stores, and he's just like, okay. And she's just like,
Yeah. And one of the other wives gives her bottle.
And if you don't know, that was opium, which was legal at the time.
Right.
Then it cuts.
But hold on, in real life, she was also a prostitute.
Well, he said neither one of them were angels.
A whole lot of in real life they were prostitutes going on. Well, you kind of think because Morgan says, wow, she's pretty, I wonder where he found her. And Virgil said, probably the same place we found ours. So I'm thinking everybody's a prostitute.
So it cuts to a poker table and you meet Doc Holliday.
Right. The savior of the whole movie.
Basically, yeah.
It is a good movie. I do like it. But without it, boy, howdy.
He definitely... The movie would have been alright.
Mm-hmm.
But he definitely makes it better. Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday makes it better.
Right. And his girlfriend, wife, common law wife, whatever, Kate.
That's just his girlfriend.
The internet says that it was his common law wife, but that's what it said for everybody.
So he's at the poker table. He's
winning.
winning.
Of a thought, if you ask me. But we'll get to all of the thoughtiness later.
So he's at the poker table. He's obviously winning a lot. And the guy's like, take your money. Get out. What is that guy? What does he say to Doc right before he's like, are we not friends anymore? I don't know what he says.
He accuses him of cheating or something.
Oh, he accuses him of cheating, and Doc Holliday kind of points to his guns, and he's like, those guns don't scare me. And he pulls them out and he lays them on the table. He's like, all right, there, we could be friends.
Yeah. He said, what?
He said something, and I did not write it down.
Are we not friends? It would break my heart to believe we weren't friends.
Yeah.
But, real sarcastic. Like way better than what I'm saying it. Real sarcastic and snarky. But you could tell Doc is not well. He 100% is dying of tuberculosis.
Yeah. But when he lays his guns out and says, okay, we can be friends now.
Uh-huh.
And the other guy made a move on him, so Doc stabs his ass right there.
Rib, yeah.
Wipes his knife clean on the guy's vest and puts it back, and then grabs all his money.
Well, no. Kate was full on that. He's still in the middle of stabbing this guy, and Kate's done got out the bag and's wiped the poker table clean into the bag. And then he finishes whatever drinks in his cup, and then he throws that in the bag. And then he walks over to another table, picks up all the stacks of cash off that table, throws it in the bag.
It's like a roulette wheel.
I was like, you just full on robbed everybody.
He only robbed the roulette table or whatever it was.
Still.
At the end.
Still, I was like, what the fuck, dude?
I mean, all those people had it coming. I mean,
just the one guy had it coming.
So then it cuts to Tombstone,
where you meet John Behan, the sheriff,
and every fucking thing else, other than the mayor.
And every fucking thing
other
else.
than the mayor, he's on everything of this.
He's the sheriff and the fire brigade, and something about housing and land development, and some anti-Chinese bullshit.
He has a lot of titles, but he doesn't actually do shit.
Yeah, he doesn't.
When it comes down to it, he doesn't do fuck.
Right. And I called him swarmy earlier, and you looked at me like you've never heard that word. I don't think I made it up.
Not in that context. Bees are swarmy.
Swarmy.
How are you spelling that?
Swarmy is an unscrupulous person. Smarmy is a smug, obnoxious person. I said he's swarmy. He's an unscrupulous person. I nailed that shit.
Whatever.
Yeah. Urban Dictionary. Swarmy. A sleazy, sneaky, sweaty, unscrupulous person. He was so swarmy that she wanted to take a bath after meeting him. That nails this dude.
Kind of. So that guy's kind of pointing him around and lets him know he's got, if they're going to stay, he's got a couple cottages they can rent, blah, blah, blah. And he tells them about the different places in town. He's like, there's the Oriental. It's really nice. It's a shame, but, like, all the, like, it's dangerous and nobody wants to go in there. The high rollers won't go near there.
Right.
And immediately Wyatt Earp just starts walking that way.
His brother's like, there he goes.
So he's going to go see what's wrong with this place. Because he's got a real fixer-upper type deal. Like,
right.
So he goes in just to check it out and talks to the bartender. Bartender ends up being the owner. He gets a cigar and something to drink. He just kind of watches the guy who's dealing faro, which I meant to look up what that was.
Here, back to the Doc Holliday scene. He said, "Does that mean we're not friends anymore? If I thought you weren't my friend, I just don't think I could bear it."
Yeah.
And throughout the movie, here too, but throughout the movie they call him a skinny lunger. So like somebody with TB.
Yeah.
So he's in the Oriental.
So he's seeing, you don't know his name yet, but it's Johnny Tyler, played by Billy Bob Thornton, who is just being an asshole to the people playing this game.
He is, like, the whole time, the whole time Wyatt's talking to the bartender, you could just hear him in the back screaming, like, lay off those queens, you stop blowing that smoke in my face, I'll shove your head up that cougar's ass, like, on and on and on, like, shut just the fuck up. So much mouth.
Wyatt walks over, and Johnny Tyler's like, what the fuck are you doing?
He's like, I'm just in my chair.
Yeah, I'm just here to let you know you're sitting in my chair. He's like, oh, is that a fact? And he's like, that's a fact. And Billy Bob just keeps talking shit. He's like, what do you say? You do a lot of talking for somebody who don't go heels or something like that. And he's like, no need to go heels to get the jump on a tub like you. And that really pissed
the guy stands up in his face. And he's like, do something. And he smacks him. And he keeps saying, he was like the guy has a gun. He has his hand on his gun.
Get in that smoke wagon.
He just keeps smacking him in the face. He's like, do something.
You gonna do something? You gonna stand there and bleed?
Yeah, he's like, his nose bleeding because he keeps getting smacked in the face like a little bitch.
Because he's one of those people, and there's a bunch of them in this movie.
By how he's running his mouth.
He's one of those people that is just a lot of bark and no bite.
Oh yeah, him and Ike could lead the bitch brigade.
Yeah. The bitch brigade, yep.
But it cracked me up. And finally the guy just fucking runs the fuck away.
No, he doesn't run away. Wyatt pulls him out by his earlobe. He pulled a grown man out of a Wild West bar by his earlobe, which was the weirdest shit ever. So he walks back over to the bartender owner. It's like, so what do you think? Like 25% of the house takes sound right? So they basically got a revenue stream right there.
Right.
So they're walking outside.
He says, we acquired an interest in a faro game. He's like, we acquired it, huh?
Yeah. So as he's talking to Virgil and Morgan, they show Johnny Tyler coming out. He's like hauling ass with a shotgun. Like, and this is what I hate. Like, if you can't fucking fight him, like, don't bring a shotgun into this.
Runs up behind him with it.
It's like coming up behind him, and Doc Holliday sees him, and he's like, Johnny Tyler!
Where are you going?
You madcap! And then Wyatt recognizes Doc, and he's like, Doc, and they all like start talking, and after a while, Doc's just like, oh, Johnny, I'm sorry, I forgot you were there. You're dismissed.
Wyatt's like, leave the shotgun, though. And he tries to hand you, he's like, just let it go. Sets it down, walks away. He's like, thank you. Thank you. I was like, Jesus.
So he's like one of those bullies that you always saw in school, just a lot of fucking talk. And when it came down to it, they never did anything. Like, or the first time they get popped by somebody, they shut up.
So, Behan, who I said was the sheriff earlier, that is a lie. That man is the sheriff. He's some kind of county law enforcement. I don't know exactly what he was. Walks up, and he goes, oh.
That man is the town marshal.
The marshal.
Behan
so the other one is the sheriff. Okay.
Sheriff is a county thing.
He's like, oh, Sheriff Behan, have you met Doc Holliday? He's like, you Son of a bitch.
He tries to shake Doc Holliday's hand, and he just looks at it. He's like, "Forgive me if I don't shake hands," and then just goes back to talking to Wyatt.
Oh, it cracked me up. While they're talking, Sheriff Behan keeps talking about how it's not just another mining town. It's upscale and
they're
grand and sophisticated. And then, like, a bar fight breaks out. They roll out into the street and kill a guy. And the marshal walks over to take their guns. He's like, it was a legal fight. And damn, the West really was wild.
And
it was a legal gun fight.
I gotta have the guns, boy. I gotta take them to Judge Spicer. And they're like, well, law and order, that's us every time.
I was like, you just shot somebody. Your ear's bleeding.
And Doc's like, there's two of your fellow sophisticates right there.
Yeah.
So then the actress arrives.
Right.
Josephine Marcus and her coach. And immediately from the get-go, Wyatt's just like...
everybody's eyes lock, and it is all over for both of them.
Yeah. So, but Doc sees it immediately.
Oh, yeah. I feel like he sees everything a step before everyone else.
A little bit. Well, that's how you get good at poker.
He might be playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers.
It cuts to the Birdcage Theater, and Wyatt and all his brothers gone there, but all the cowboys are kind of sitting in the what you call it, the gallery, the floor seating.
Hold on, before that, she comes with an actor. I do not know his name. But they're talking about Wyatt.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, oh, he's tall and this and that. It was like his eyes have a look of both predator and prey. And she's like, I want it. And he goes, happy hunting.
Yeah.
And leaves her alone. But now they're at the theater.
So the cowboys are there in the gallery, and these people are just fucking nuts. Like, anytime something happens and they're happy about it or mad about it, they just start shooting at the roof. Roofers in these places should have just followed the cowboys around and just did repair work.
Wyatt and his brothers and family are sitting in the balcony, and I'm like, how many times does somebody in the balcony take a stray one?
Probably a lot. A lot of this stuff probably didn't happen that way.
I don't know. I've done a lot of research, and a whole lot of it did happen that way.
No, but I mean, like the Yosemite Sam, pow, 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 pow. Like, a lot of that stuff probably didn't happen. Like,
okay, so I do have a fun fact about this theater scene.
Okay.
So Val Kilmer said that the screenwriter insisted that the actors wear real wool costumes in accordance with the time period. So in the Birdcage Theater scene, Val Kilmer said the thermostat on set read 134 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 56 degrees for you guys that do Celsius. Said Kilmer joked that that's the reason Doc Holliday killed so many people. It's just like he wore wool in the summer in Arizona. That made him mad. So, as 50 Cent would say, it's hot out here, that's a good enough reason.
I mean, that's paraphrasing, but yeah.
Well, what is it? It's hot out this bitch?
It's hot out this bitch, and that's a good enough reason.
Yeah.
On comes a juggler or something, and one of the cowboys shoots his
The sign said it was Professor Gilman, and whoever Jason Priestley plays, his name's Billy. He has some kind of badge too, but nobody ever really tells you what the fuck it is. He says, oh, Professor Gilman, I saw him in blah, blah, blah. He catches stuff. And he's just juggling, and they say, well, catch this and shoot his, pen he's juggling. But apparently, in the Old West, there was a Professor Gilman that would have audience members fire blanks at him, like a Planet audience member fire a blank at him, and then he would, catch the bullet in his teeth. Like, he would have a bullet already there.
Yeah.
And just show it. But, so they did that.
So then comes the guy who had the speech about Crispin or something, St. Crispin. Mm-hmm. And then you had a reenactment of Faust making a deal with the devil. Right. And the thing I thought was interesting is they're all watching this, and Curly Bill says he'd make the deal, crawfish, and
shoot the devil and shoot him in his face. Some bullshit.
He's drill him in his ass.
Right.
Which I thought was like, how do you mean this? And he leans over and asks Ringo, he's like, what would you do? And Ringo's just like, stone face, I already did it.
Yeah. They go through the whole thing, too, of how to sell your soul to the devil, and then Doc Holliday goes, very informative.
Instructive.
Very instructive. I was like, y'all got some problems.
So everybody comes out for, like, the bows or whatever, and Doc's, or not Doc, why?
Me too, man.
Why it's like, who was the devil? And then out pops Josephine, and he was like,
Oh. And Doc sees it and kind of, like, pokes him.
He said,
but Maddie also sees it and just leans back in her chair is like,
I remember now. When she pops out, he says, I'll be damned. Doc looks over and is like, yeah, if you get lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, but Maddie hears all of it because, she's sitting right fucking there.
Or you may indeed if you get lucky.
Did you write this movie down word for fucking word?
Maybe. So...
He looked so innocent when he said maybe.
So, everybody leaves the theater. Wyatt's like, I gotta go to the Oriental, I gotta work. Maddie throws a little bitch fit.
Well, to her credit, and this is the last time I'll give anything to her credit, everybody's husband's going home with them.
Not Morgan. Morgan went to the Oriental with Wyatt.
Are you sure?
Yeah, just Virgil and his wife.
Okay.
So there's that whole scene, and then they're in the Oriental. They take a break from the Pharaoh game, and
he's talking to Doc.
Wyatt's talking to Doc, and Doc asks him, about Josephine, and then eventually he says, well, what would you do if she walked in here? He's like, I'd ignore her. Mm-hmm. And he's talking, and basically they're talking about their past, like
she wasn't
an angel.
Neither was I.
Neither was
but
I.
We've changed.
People change. Blah blah blah. And he's like, But
he says he would ignore Josephine. He's like, all right, I'll remember that.
And as they turn around, she walks in.
And turns him around. He's like, son of a bitch.
So she walks in. She
gets a round of applause and dances through the crowd and bows and asks him if she can have this dance. And he just, stone-faced, turns around and ignores her. He ghosted her.
But then the sheriff starts
He ghost-towned her.
He ghost-towned? Wow.
Ha-ha!
No, don't.
He gave her the old tumbleweed. Are any of these Wild West jokes working for you?
No.
I think he gave her the old tumbleweed. I think that's the one that sticks.
Wow. You got a problem.
It's genetic.
So when he tumbleweeded her...
Yes! I knew it would be the one! I just had to workshop it a little.
Doc looks at him and is like, okay, you're an oak. I stand corrected. You're an oak. So then Curly Bill, Ringo, and Ike show up to the bar. They walk over. They just stole some dude's 20 or 5 something out of his hand. Mm-hmm. And fucking Ike is just like a rabid pit bull, just frothing out the mouth. Law don't go around here no more. Law don't go around here, Law Dog. Listen up, you better shut the fuck up, Law Dog.
He's
I'm gonna backhand him right in the mouth.
He's like a good 6 inches from
just spitting in his face.
Yeah.
And he's, we'll get to it, but he's
eventually, Curly Bill even says, shut up, Ike.
Yeah, Ike's just a fuckboy. Just plain and simple, he's a fuckboy. He's the leader of the fuckboy squad of this whole game.
I thought we called him the bitch brigade.
That too. So, at this point, Ringo meets Doc Holliday. I guess they both have a reputation because they both know about each other.
Yes, they do.
And Doc's like, Ringo says something about how Doc looks a little old, a little slow, and he's like, not me, I'm in my prime.
Right. But he's like sweating. Yeah. All like his skin looks like melting wax.
He's all TB'd out. Right? It looked like Exhibit came on set and they were like, oh, you want TV, dog? I got you, fam.
It was like they built a wax statue of Val Kilmer and then put it under lights.
They just sprayed it with water.
It was melting.
Very pale. Doc looks at Kate. He's like, "Should I hate him?" And then
he says, "There's something about his eyes. They remind me of mine. They remind me of me." Yep, that's final. I do hate him.
Then Ringo starts speaking to him in Latin. Or no, Doc said something in Latin.
Right.
And Ringo chimed back. They have a whole little Latin standoff.
They do, and I have the translations to that if you're interested.
All right, what's the translation?
Okay, so Doc Holliday starts in Latin. I mean, I'm not going to read the Latin to you. And it means, "In wine there is truth." And then Ringo says, "Do what you do." And then Doc says, now this one's a little weird, I got an explanation for it too. "Let Apella the Jew believe, not I." Which apparently means, said scholarly papers showed that Romans used the phrase to show contempt for Judaism's belief that divine power was involved in everyday life.
Okay.
And then Ringo said, "Youth is the teacher of fools." And Doc said, "Rest in peace."
Oh, Doc's calling his shot.
And that's when the sheriff, or the
marshal
was like, "Come on now, boys.
We don't need any trouble in any language."
I think he also knew "rest in peace" in Latin. But this is when Ringo pulls out both of his guns.
No, hold on. He doesn't pull the guns out yet, because Doc says, apparently, Johnny's an educated man. Mm-hmm. Yep, I'm sure of it. I hate him. Mm-hmm. And then Ringo pulls out his guns and does all tricky tricks.
Well, you think he's going to shoot it, but then he just does like all these spinning tricks, blah, 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 and then holsters it. Doc Holliday finishes whatever drink is in his cup, and then does a bunch of bullshit tricks and floppity floops with the cup. People are dying laughing, which I think really made Ringo mad.
Yeah.
But even Curly Bill thought that shit was funny.
The cup scene was hilarious.
It was hilarious.
Because it did two things. It calmed the room down.
Yeah, defused everything.
But at the same time, while calming the room down, it also pissed Johnny Ringo off twice as much. So Josephine asks about
Josephine and
Captain Cockblock,
Sheriff Behan, now in real life, were married. They're like dating in this movie. They're together, whatever. And she's like, "So, tell me about him. Tell me about the man at the table." And
Captain Cockblock was just like, "I think he's married."
Yeah. And she does not care.
No, she's... So then you get to the next day.
Right.
And you have their wild horses scene.
Yeah. Oh, hey!
I told you this was the link to the last movie.
Good job!
And he tells her mare's
Well, he is not happy to see her.
No, because he knows
he comes down on his
he
horse
has no willpower.
Fuck. Yeah, like it was all just a show for Doc. And she's like, "Oh, I thought we were never going to meet." The horse is like rearing back, and he tells her that her horse is in heat. And she's like, "Well, let's run it out of him." So they go on this huge horseback ride, and he goes, "Oh, well, into the line." She's like, "Maybe for you." She starts riding hers down like this rocky-ass mountain and shit.
It was a hill. It wasn't a mountain.
It was pretty straight down.
It was like a 20-foot drop into a meadow.
Wyatt Earp wasn't happy about it. He said you could have been killed.
No, that was after all the frolicking through the woods. And so they sit down to talk a little bit, and Josephine is just straight up. It's like, "Hey, are you going to stay with that girl?" Or
pretty much. She's like, what are your hopes? What are your dreams? What about that girl? Is she your wife? What do you want out of life? Are you happy? Like, the whole thing makes him very uncomfortable.
Yeah. So then,
like, what do you mean, am I happy? I'm as happy as the next person. Are you happy?
He says, "I want, a family with kids," and she's like, "It doesn't suit you."
Yeah, she's like, "No, you don't." So anyway, they're on this blanket, they're having this talk. He gets all upset, but then there's a deleted scene where they really do have a wild horses moment, because they just have sex right there in the meadow, which makes this next scene where he comes home to his wife that's completely trashed in bed.
Yeah, as you get to her, she's like sneaking some of that laudanum in.
Yeah. But she's wicked trashed in bed. And he's like, how are you? And she's like, I'm fine. And she's laughing and she's crying. And he was like, are you really? And she's like, I'm fine. And he jumps in bed with her and he's like, let's get out of town together. We've made a pretty good amount of money here. We can get out. We can go anywhere you want. We can live on room service, which is what Josephine told him was her dream.
Yeah.
But the fact that this deleted scene where they just had sex and then he goes home to his wife is a little bit gross.
So she laughs him off. It kind of like pisses him off a little bit. He kind of rolls over. He's like, I was just thinking out loud.
Then it goes to Doc playing the piano.
Oh, so Doc's playing the piano and Kate's kind of behind him. And you can hear in the background somebody talking about, like, why is she with that longer? Mm-hmm. Talks a bunch of shit.
She's very pretty in this movie. I don't know how pretty she was in real life because when I looked them all up on Wikipedia, her nickname was Big Nose Kate.
Wow. She doesn't really have that big of a nose.
Well, I mean, this is an actress. This isn't a documentary.
Oh. You're talking about the real one.
Yeah,
okay.
That's what I said. I don't know how pretty she was in real life because her name was Big Nose Kate.
Well, she was Hungarian, so she probably had like that Eastern European look about her.
Did they say she's Hungarian?
He calls her my little Hungarian devil or something like that. So, he's actually somehow related to Ike because they're both both of their last name is Clinton.
Right.
I think it's Billy.
Yeah.
Comes over and he starts talking like, he's like, what's this song? Is it this? And it's like something about Camptown Roads. They're all like mining.
If it's Stephen Foster.
It's like it's Frederick fucking Chopin.
Well, he says, is it Stephen Foster? And he was like, huh? And so he names off all the songs that he's done. He was like, Stephen flippin' Foster. Stinkin' Foster. And he goes, well, this is Frederick fucking Chopin.
And it just keeps on playing.
Right. Then it goes to Curly Bill and the opium den.
Yeah, Curly Bill just, he just skipped the laudanum altogether and just went right to the opium den.
Yeah, Curly Bill's living his best life.
And he was feeling real good.
Yeah, he even comes out, he comes out in the middle of the street, he's like filling himself up. He's like, I feel great.
And then for no reason, he just starts fucking shooting his guns. Yosemite saying, pow, 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 pow.
Random shit. Like, it's not straight up in the air. It's like,
he's like knocking windows, the gas street lanterns.
But everybody abandoned ship. Like, there's nobody in the street but him at that point. And the marshal says, we have to go do something.
No, the marshal doesn't say anything. It was like,
you're right. The
mayor,
sheriff said.
The mayor says something.
The sheriff says, we have to go do something.
The mayor says somebody's got to do something.
The
sheriff then says, it's not a county matter. This is town business.
No, the sheriff runs in and gets in the...
That's the mayor.
No, it's not. The swarmy sheriff runs in and gets in the magistrate's face. Is like, something needs to be done. Somebody has to stop him. And White Earp says, then go stop him. And he says, it's not a county matter. It's a city business.
So then
the magistrate goes up there to stop him. White Earp's like, just
town
let
marshal. It's not a magistrate.
Whatever. Who cares? Everybody in the fucking show has a goddamn badge on. They don't even tell you what Jason Priestley is. He just has a badge.
Did he have a badge?
Yeah, it's like the fucking clown prince of badges. Like, everybody makes fun of him and picks on him and calls him the sister boy. That can't be good.
They called him the sister boy.
Throughout the whole thing. Like, Jason Priestley walks into the theater, and all the cowboys are grabbing his ass, calling him sister boy, and they're like, Curly Bill's like, leave him alone, come sit by me, and then later they call him sister boy.
I guess. I don't think I ever really caught that.
Yeah. His name is also Billy, which I found weird. Why name two people Billy?
One was probably William.
They're both probably William. Anyway, whoever the fuck. The young guy won't go do it because he's a pussy, so he sends the old guy to go do it.
Yeah. The old guy's like, somebody's got to do something. Why is it just leave it alone? And he's like, no, somebody's got to do something. So he goes out there, and Curly's about to hand him his guns. He's got them like turned over in his hand, And then I don't know if he meant to, like, just kind of shoot it off to the side, upside
no, he definitely
down.
meant to kill him.
I don't think he meant to kill him, because afterward he kind of falls. He's like, Fred! Oh, shit. I don't think he meant to. I think it was an accident.
He didn't do it.
I think he meant to scare him. Because when it comes on here in a minute, just watch it again. He's like, he just goes, oh, Fred, and he kind of like drops down to help him, but then he's so fucked up he rolls over and he's just laying there. So at this point, the town marshal's dead, laying in the street. Wyatt comes out, and the other people come out, and Wyatt has Curly Bill by the collar, because the Cowboys were going to come take him away so he didn't go to jail. Mm-hmm. And Wyatt's like, no, he'll stand trial, whatever. But the townspeople wanted to kill him because he just killed the marshal. He's like, he'll stand trial. It'll be, basically he wants the law to handle it.
Well, the Cowboys come out and they're like, let him go.
That's what I just said.
You didn't do the whole thing, did
you? Yeah, the Cowboys came out, wanted him to let him go. The townspeople wanted him to kill him. And he's like, nobody's getting him. He's gonna...
But Ike got in his face.
Oh, yeah.
And he put a gun to Ike's head and was like, your people may kill me, but you die first. Not before I turn your head into a canoe, I believe is what he said.
Yep.
And they're like, he's bluffing, get him. He's like, no,
he ain't.
No, he ain't.
Bluffing,
he'll kill me.
His voice raised like 7 octaves.
And then Doc comes out of the bar with his gun and was like, I got one. Or he was like, you're next, piano lover.
Music lover.
Whatever. I'm not going to get this movie word for fucking word right.
I was just calling him music lover because it comes into play later.
Do you have a transcript over there? You're getting on my goddamn nerves.
Won't you calm down?
Anyway, the fucking dude from Wings
Doc said,
was like, you're drunk. You're probably seeing double. And Doc was like, that's okay. I have 2 guns, 1 for each of you. And I'm sure now you'll tell me what he actually said.
It's close enough.
So the next day, or however, it's not the next day because it was like 3 weeks. It took the judge 3 weeks to get back into town. And then he asked if I saw him do it. And I said no. And he said, well, you can't have a murder without a witness. But here's the thing. There were 2 witnesses because Josephine and the sheriff saw him do it.
Yeah.
They saw him do it. But in real life, Curly Bill was found innocent because before he died, the marshal told everybody that it was an accident. He didn't mean to.
But it looked like they portrayed it like he was going to try to shoot the gun and scare him off to the side, but hit him right in the chest. So the next day, the Cowboys roll through, and they just like roll through shooting their guns.
Before the Cowboys come riding into town, you see Morgan and Wyatt, and they're like making plans for the future and talking about how much money they're making, how great it's going to be. But Virgil's kind of in the back making a drink, and like you could tell, like he's just upset about shit. And the mayor comes in again, asking him to step up and be the new law enforcement since old boy just died, and they all tell him no. And Virgil leaves, and he's walking through the street, and the Cowboys come riding in, shooting their guns, and they almost run over this little boy. He runs out in the middle of the street and grabs. And he gives the little boy back to the mom, and the mom has been, like, slashed down her face. And he stares at her for a long time. And I guess all that made his decision, because the next scene is just him with a badge on, nailing up the new rules that there's no guns allowed in town.
Yeah, no, people don't like that.
Gun control in the Old West.
And people still didn't like it.
Still, it's the law.
Law don't go around here no more.
So Morgan is also all badged up. And Wyatt is pissed.
Yeah.
I guess Virgil had like been doing the law situation before. I don't guess Morgan had, because he's really trying to talk Morgan out of it. And he's like, you don't know what it's like to kill somebody. You'll never get over it. It'll never be okay again. Yeah.
So then it cuts. Just Wyatt goes back to the bar, right? And
I think they all do.
Well, they cut. And Wyatt's walking in, and Morgan's like, "Hey, Doc's been at it for 36 hours. He won't stop." He's talking about how the Clan and McClary's got there, and he's trying to get him to go upstairs. He won't.
Right.
And Wyatt says nobody can make him.
So Ike's there at the table with him.
Yeah.
They're gambling.
Somebody says something to Doc, though, like, shouldn't, like, tell him to quit, go to bed, and he's like, I've not yet begun to defile myself. What starts the fight? Ike's like, that's 12 hands in a row or something like that?
Yes, he thinks he's cheating as well. Virgil tells him nobody cheated you. Doc decides to take his money and leave and go elsewhere. But Ike and Virgil start getting into a fight.
Yeah, Ike keeps calling Virgil a pimp and that they're all working together and just running his mouth. Just keeps going. Apparently, Ike thought Virgil left.
Well, before that, when Doc stands up, he passes out.
Yeah.
So they pick him up and carry him to a hotel, and that's when Ike gets his guns back from the bartender, and he smacks the bartender and
the bartender's like, nobody cheated you, Ike, you just lost. And he's like, I don't take no mouth from no bartenders either.
But he just starts talking shit about you tell the Earps, I see him, they're dead, blah, 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 blah.
As he's cocking his shotgun.
But Virgil's just standing behind him. When he turns around, he just like takes the butt of his gun and knocks him out with it. Drags his ass to jail.
Yeah.
Let him sleep it off. So I guess it's the next day. His little cowboy friends come to bail him out.
Oh, yeah. And
they let him go, and they're like, you got to give him back his guns. He's like, not till he sobers up. I was like, damn, the next day still ain't sobered up? But they say, you got a fight coming. It's coming today.
Well, that's after that little fuckboy that was talking to Virgil walks out and bumps shoulders with Wyatt. And he turns around and starts yelling at Wyatt to watch where he's going. Wyatt's like, hey, I'm sorry. Just calm down.
He called him kid.
Oh, take it easy,
kid. I'm sorry.
He said, take it easy, kid. He's like, I ain't easy and I ain't your kid. I'll fight you right now. And he keeps yelling about how he's going to fight him right now. I'm like, bitch, no, you're not. If you were going to fight him right there, you would have swung on him already. Like, just shut the fuck up. And then that's when Ike, apparently good enough to ride a horse, he could barely walk a second ago. It's like, you got a fight coming. It's coming today. Why not fight there? Why not fight there then and now?
We gotta go get more people, and he's gotta sober up and get his guns.
Like, just take your ass whooping and go home. Like, no need to bring more people into this.
So the doctor, an actual physician doctor, is telling Doc, he's laying in bed, telling him he has to change his life or he's gonna die. He could have 2 years or he could have 2 days. It depends on him and the lifestyle changes he's willing to make. No more smoking, drinking, gambling, and his marital interests. He has
Situation.
to change his marital interests. But Kate is like out on the porch and she's hearing all this and she's just freaking the fuck out. Like she's about to get pushed to the side and she can't have all that. And the doctor leaves and she walks in, sits on his bed, and he says, I think we may have to change.
Yeah, we may have to redefine the nature
of our relationship.
Yeah.
And she puts a cigarette in his mouth because that's what he needs. And she's like, I've always been a good woman. I've always been a good woman to you. I've always taken care of you. And she like traces her hand down and kind of grabs the dick. And he's like, you have always been a good woman. And she flips the blankets back and she's just going to go on downtown. He's like, but you also may be the Antichrist.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's very thirsty. She can't let that well run dry.
So then it cuts to the Hurt brothers standing outside, I guess is their police station. Cowboys are rolling in. And they said something about how many of them there were, like 6 of them. There's another 6 or whatever. And Virgil say something, or does Morgan say something about it's going to get wild? And Wyatt just says, just use your head and it'll be okay.
Virgil says he wants to go down there and arrest them all because they're carrying guns in the town. And he's like, it's a misdemeanor, it won't stick, don't go down there, you're going to get shot for no reason.
Before that, Wyatt's like, they say something about how
it's going to get out of hand.
It's going to get out of hand. He said, use your head, it'll all be all right. And then he kind of takes a deep breath. He's like, but anyway, you better swear me in.
Right.
And then he tries to talk Virgil out of going down there just because people are going to die just because of this whole gun issue. and just trying to let him sober up first. But he wouldn't take it. They're breaking the law.
Right. Old Doc gets off his deathbed to go join in.
Doc is a very loyal friend.
He does seem like a good friend to have. But Behan runs down there and he's like, there's no reason to do this. I've already unarmed him. He's like, oh, you did, huh? He's like, I won't have any violence. And then runs in the picture studio with Josephine and hides.
Yeah. Well, before they go to walk down, Wyatt looks at Doc and says, you don't got to involve yourself. It's not your problem. And Doc's just like, that's a hell of a thing for you to say to me. And he's like, Wyatt's like, well, if he's going to come, give him the shotgun.
Right. So they're all having this little standoff.
Which
and
is
Virgil
great.
keeps telling him, that's not what I want.
Yeah.
This isn't what I want. But they don't care.
Put the guns down. Well, during the standoff, it kind of pans to everybody.
Oh, so on the way down, Doc starts whistling.
Yeah.
Which was also creepy. Not in the script. He just thought that would be a good idea.
Yeah. So it's panning to everybody's kind of face back and forth. The Cowboys, the Earps, Doc, all of them.
It's very tense. Old Doc started the whole goddamn thing.
Zooms in on Music Lover. So he's sitting there, he's just looking. Then it cuts back to Doc, and Doc's just kind of got a half smile, shitting grin on his face. And Doc just winks at him, and you could see the rage.
He shit his pants, is what happened.
The Music Lover, and Wyatt goes...
It wasn't rage, it was fear. You're reading it wrong.
So, he did it out of fear.
He full on, Doc winked at him, and he shit his pants and just started firing.
Well, even before he could fire... Wyatt's like, oh, hell.
Yeah.
So everybody saw him freak the fuck out mentally.
Yeah, it was fear. It wasn't rage.
And Doc's just like, bring it.
Yeah. In real life, it lasted 30 seconds. The entire OK Corral shootout lasted 30 seconds.
From the start of the guns or from the start? Okay. I mean, that's a long time.
30 seconds is a long time to shoot.
You could probably time that. It's probably not much longer.
In real life. But
Ike is such a little bitch.
He's like, I don't have a gun. I'm not in this. I don't have a gun. They're like, get to shooting or get out. And he just runs, and he also hides in the photography studio.
Well, he takes the sheriff's gun. He steals it off the sheriff and just starts firing out the window.
He breaks the
little
window
bitch.
And he starts screaming for Billy, who I guess is his cousin, it's the music lover. And then just starts firing. Yeah, it was wild.
Well, before when I watched this movie, while Ike is in the studio shooting out, it always looked like Doc was just doing some fucked up bullshit. But he was kind of like, he saw him shooting out and just laying ground cover, like trying to not to get anything in his eye.
But Morgan gets shot in the leg.
Morgan
gets shot in the leg. So he's laying on the ground. Doc runs out of bullets, and one of the unnamed cowboys is like, I got you now.
Well, did Virgil also get shot in the leg? Because he was using his little cane.
And he's always used that fucking cane. He's like, I got you now. And he had another gun, Doc had another gun, and he said he shoots him in the side, but Morgan didn't see that happen. So Morgan, takes his last ounce of energy to, lift up enough to shoot that guy square.
In
dead
the fucking
center in the middle of the head.
Yeah. But it was Doc's always pushing his limit. He ran out of one.
He's gonna die anyway. What's it matter?
He ran out of bullets with the one gun. He already knew. He knew he had.
Known.
He made it known. He's just like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do about it? And Doc the whole time was still pushing forward, walking towards the guy.
Morgan was shot in the shoulder, but they killed a bunch of fucking cowboys.
They only show 3.
Yeah. They killed 3's a bunch.
But at the end, the sheriff's like, all right, all of you are under arrest. And Wyatt's like, I don't think I'm gonna let you do that today, Sheriff.
I don't think I'll allow it today. I wrote down that line. Josephine
she walks
out on the porch just all in amazement at this amazing feat this man just pulled off. But Maddie runs up to, see if her husband's okay, and just catches them like fucking each other and just runs away. Okay, sorry. Now it goes to the funeral with the glass caskets.
Was that a real thing?
I guess. I don't know.
That's weird.
But they also had the sign "Murdered in the Streets of Tombstone."
Yeah, I find it hard to believe that this bunch of fuckboys and like rednecks found like
was doing arts and crafts.
We're doing arts and crafts. Like at old Joanne's tailor shop.
That's funny.
But this is when shows them go by, but then it cuts to Ringo's drunk in the middle of the street.
Ringo is drunk and mourning.
He's like, I want your blood, and I want your souls, and I want them right now.
Yeah. Well, he says...
And everybody's like...
He wants a fight drunk. For blood.
Oh, they said I want to play for blood. But Curly Bill and them get him, and they're like, he's just drunk as all.
Well, before that, though, Doc steps up and says, I'm your Huckleberry.
Yeah. So Doc calls him out, and basically Doc says, that's just my game.
Right. Doc says, I'm your Huckleberry, so they're going to play for blood. And Ringo's with it. He's going to do it. He's going to have a shootout. And Curly Bill grabs him. He's like, he's just drunk, that's all. He's like, stop it, fucking quit. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, because Ringo was not in a good state to be
But I liked, he was like, God damn, even I'm scared for what happens when Ringo takes over.
Yeah.
But okay, it says the famous phrase, I'm your Huckleberry, is said to be a misquote due to Doc's thick Georgia accent. It is believed that he actually said, I'm your hucklebearer. A huckle is the handle of a casket. Doc was issuing a threat that he's your huckleberry. He'll put your ass in the ground.
Hucklebearer?
Yeah.
I always thought it was Huckleberry.
It is. He says, the movie says, I'm your Huckleberry, but they said that in real life, he does say that, but they think that with the thick Georgia accent that none of these fuckers understood, it was Hucklebearer. Because
that makes more sense.
You have a real thick Southern accent, and you say, I'm your Hucklebearer. Yeah. Berry, same thing.
Holla burr.
Right?
Holla burr.
Yeah.
Well, Ringo's like, I'll put you, before they stop him, I'll put you out of your misery. And Doc's just like, say when. And that's when all Curly Bill and the cowboy show, it's like, get him out of there.
So Curly Bill tells Ringo it's not the right time. They'll get theirs. And then it goes to a dark and stormy night. Sheriff Behan and Josephine are sitting there, and he goes, I see what's going on. I see what's happening between you and White Earp. But after tonight, there'll be one man in charge of Tombstone, and you'll be thankful to know him.
So he just straight up tells her, like, he's on to some shit.
Yeah. So she runs out.
She tries to warn all the women. To tell the wife,
she's like, look, I'm real fucking sorry. I know that I'm here. I know it's awful. But I think something's going to happen tonight. Meanwhile, all the brothers are together at some bar, I guess the Orient. And Virgil says it's late. He's going to go home. And you see him in the street, like he hears something. And then the next thing you know, he comes back in and he's been shot. His arm's bleeding. Oh, somebody busts in before that while she's trying to warn the wife. Somebody comes in and just shoots up the house that the women are in.
Which is real fucked up. Like, the cowboys...
It reminded me of like a modern drive-by. I don't know if it was like a horseback by.
Yeah, but that's the pussy move to make. Like, if you're mad at somebody, one, you tell them, or you fight them, do whatever, get it out of your system.
But you don't shoot their wife, right?
You don't shoot innocent people. You don't do it in a way where everybody knows you did it, but nobody saw you do it because you're being backhanded about it. Yeah.
You never see who shoots anybody.
No.
But somebody shoots at the girls. Virgil leaves. He gets shot, like, in the shoulder. The doctor's there trying to pull the bullet out of it, and he does, but he says he's going to lose use of that entire arm, which is when Wyatt thinks it's a good time to just have a chat. He's like, I told you And he's like, what do you
Not
want me
now.
to do? He's like, what do you want me to do now? He's like, leave me the fuck alone. And finally his wife has to be like, fucking go. Morgan had already peaced out. He was back playing pool. I guess he just couldn't handle it. And he gets shot through the window, like dead center in the spine. Which is the worst scene ever. Like, they're trying to dig that bullet out of his spine. Fucking Maddie's standing there, watching him scream in pain. You know she's got a whole purse full of fucking opium. Like, you can't give this motherfucker some painkillers? Dope him up so he don't know somebody's digging in his spine? And finally the doctor's like, it's too deep, I can't get it. And he just fucking dies very quickly. Because he had previously told Wyatt that he believes in heaven and God, and you see this white light when you're dying. And he was like, you remember what I told you about the light? It's a lie. I can't see shit. And then just dies. Wyatt has his brothers, probably both brothers at this point, blood all over both of his hands. And he runs out into the street in the rain screaming. And Josephine, runs across the street. I guess she's going to comfort him or see if he's okay. I don't know. But he yells at her to get away, and she acts real shocked. But, dude, like, his brother just died, and he's covered in his blood. Like, maybe not the best time. But Maddie also walks out and sees Josephine run to him. She doesn't run to him, though. She's just like,
She was just always finding another excuse to go home and hit that bottle one more time. He
tells Josephine to get away from me, I think, because everybody close to him has died.
Yeah.
But he doesn't tell Maddie to get away. Like, he kind of walks towards Maddie a little bit. I was like, you don't care if she lives or dies.
Then it cuts to the cowboys on this porch. And they have, I guess, Morgan in a casket.
Virgil's arms all wrapped up.
Wyatt stops the
whole family's
coach, the wagon. Town. Yeah. He stops in front of him. He's like, I want you to know it's over. And I'm like, no.
Curly Bill goes, well.
Not over.
Curly Bill goes, well.
Bye. But Ringo, he's like, you smell that? Smells like somebody died. And Curly Bill's like, God damn.
Yeah. Like, Ringo's too crazy for even them.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a scary motherfucker. We're going to hear her snoring. I apologize for my puggle. You can hear the background snoring like a grown-ass truck driver.
So as they roll away, Curly Bill tells Ike to take Stillwell and finish it. At the train station, the whole family gets on the train except for Wyatt.
Well, you don't know that. They roll up to the train station, and they're like, there they are right there. And with shotgun in hand, they're like, hey, Maddie, where's Wyatt? Like, bitch, you're holding a gun. I'm going to tell you where my husband is?
Wyatt told the other guy, he was like, there's Virgil with his wife, he's mine.
All right. But Wyatt goes, I'm right here. And shoots Stillwell. Completely dead. Ike falls down, because of course he does.
When he falls down, then he's like, oh, blah, blah, blah.
Wyatt grabs his hair and lifts his foot up and cuts his face with the spur on his boot. Oh, that was interesting. But he lets him go. He tells him, he has like the U.S. Marshal badge on now. He's like, I see red, I kill it. I'm coming and hell's coming with me. You tell him I'm coming. So then he goes on his revenge tour.
No, it's not revenge.
Yeah. But it's him.
Well, the first scene they show, he rides into a fucking building, like, through the window with still on horseback. He's in a barbershop with the cowboys, and he just turns the horse around and shoots them all, and then just rolls out.
But it's him, Doc Holliday, the two fine, upstanding gentlemen we see at the beginning of the movie.
Creek Johnson and Texas Jack.
Turkey Creek Johnson. Mm-hmm.
No, I just call him Creek.
That's Turkey Creek.
Whatever.
You don't want to be confusing him with no other creeks, damn it. But there's another one, too. There's 5 of them.
Oh, the McMasters?
Yeah, because he, in the middle of all the shit, goes over to him and turns in his stash. He's like, I heard what they did to your women. That's not cool.
Yeah. They roll into an opium den. They get one of the cowboys as he goes to grab the hookah. And they just put the gun there, and he just grabs the gun and starts sucking on the end of the gun.
Sucks it in his mouth, yeah.
And then the camera cuts away, but you just see his arm jerk back in the pow. Then Wyatt and his group get caught in a basically an ambush. They're surrounded by cowboys, and there's a creek kind of in between them and one group, and you just hear Wyatt go, "No!" And everybody's like, "What?"
It's Curly Bill, and Curly Bill says, "Hey, I got some boys behind you too. You got some crossfire." And everybody's laying on their back, cowering, and they keep yelling at him like, "You better come up with something quick." And he just stands up and starts screaming, "No,
no!" Like, what are you doing? And he just starts walking through the creek, and they're missing him left and right. And while Curly Bill's yelling at him, stop, because he wants to get him. Curly Bill misses a few times.
Wyatt walks through the creek right up to him and shoots him
in the chest.
Now, it says, as extraordinary as this scene is, it's true.
Real.
So that's how it happened. So during the shootout in the creek, when Wyatt kills Curly Bill, the next person he shoots is Johnny Barnes, the cowboy who yells Jesus Christ. As in real life, Wyatt shoots Barnes in the stomach. However, Barnes was not killed on sight. He managed to escape and die in a farmhouse. Before dying, he told the story of how Wyatt really did walk into a hail of Curly Bill's gunfire unscathed, walk right up to Bill and shoot him point blank with both barrels of a double-barreled shotgun.
Damn, so in real life, he got closer than what they showed in the movie. Crazy.
That's
no!
Like, a lot of the reviews later bitch about different parts of the movie that I've since reviewed, and I'm like, that's what happened. I don't know what to tell you. I think you're bad at life.
So then they're kind of like recuperating after, and somebody's like, "Where's Wyatt?" And Doc's just like, "Down by the creek, walking on water." And then McMaster's, I think, is like, "Yeah, if they were my brothers, I'd want revenge too." And Doc's like, "No, it's make no mistake, it's not revenge he's after. It's a reckoning."
Somebody said, "Why are you doing this? You ought to be home in bed." He's like, "Wyatt Earp is my friend." He's like, "Hell, I got a lot of friends." He's like, "I don't."
So they're riding along. And Doc's pretty much just having a coffin fit, and it coughs out some blood and passes out. And they end up.
You skipped some stuff.
What did I skip?
Well, first you see the stagecoach that the cowboys stop. And the male actor's dead. Josephine's holding on to him. Said that a couple other cowboys tried to rob her, and he called them cowards, so they shot him. And this is when Jason Priestley gets all pissed off and rides away and won't go with the cowboys anymore. But you see Ringo, and he's with Behan, which I thought was really weird. I don't think I've ever noticed before. And then you see Wyatt and his people, and they see all the people riding, and they look, it was like, it's Ringo and Behan, and how many ever of them? He's like, and they're all wearing badges.
Yeah.
So, explain to me what happened.
Basically, the Cowboys already run the show, right?
Right.
So
have they bullied this Behan into actually becoming law?
Yes. But we did skip a part at the train station when Wyatt shoots Stillwell. He flashed his U.S. Marshal badge. Did you?
Yeah.
So the Cowboys have
all been deputized, or is badges the sash?
I don't know. Could just be the sash.
Yeah. Well, then Doc passes out, has blood everywhere, and they take him to Henry Hooker's ranch, which is Charlton Heston.
I didn't know that till the end of the movie.
That's Charlton Heston? They had to get him in there somewhere. I don't think you're allowed to make a Western without him in there, right?
So they're holding up there for a minute, and then Henry Hooker's like, I know you guys got to go, but I don't think he's gonna make it.
Yeah.
Wyatt asks Doc what makes a man like Ringo tick.
Well, hold on, you're missing a bunch more. So first, Josephine stops at the ranch as well to water her horses. So he gets to apologize to her for yelling at her. And she's like, "Oh, I forgave you the moment you said it." And then they see a cowboy ride up, and he's dragging a body behind him, and he lets it go, and it's McMaster's.
Yeah.
And the cowboy was like, Ringo wanted to make a point to you. He wants a straight up fight, and tells him where to be when. That's when he's having the
Yeah.
chat with Doc. Go ahead.
So he wants to know what makes Ringo tick, and Doc basically tells him he's got an empty hole in his heart that he could never fill. It's not enough stealing, not enough killing, not enough anything, and he tells him he needs revenge. And Doc, Wyatt's like, for what? And Doc says, for being born.
Right. He's a dark motherfucker, ain't he?
Yeah.
But Wyatt's real pissed. He's like, I've gone my whole life not knowing what I wanted, and now I know exactly what I want in life and exactly who I want in life, and that's why this isn't fair. And he was like, I can't beat him, can I? And Doc's just like, nope. I was like, so, damn, don't sugarcoat it.
There's a little bit of time that passes.
Well, Doc asks what it feels like to wear one of those and points to his badge.
There was a little bit of time that passed because now Wyatt was getting dressed and he was like, I'm going with you. And then he kind of has a hacking fit, leans back down, tells Wyatt he's sorry. Wyatt's like, no problem, whatever. And then he asks what it's like to wear one of those badges. And Wyatt just gives it to him.
Yeah, just takes it off and hands it to him. So I guess while Wyatt's having a heart-to-heart with the owner of the ranch, because he's like, don't worry, if they want him, they got to go through all of us. Doc sneaks out the back, because he beats Wyatt to the meeting spot with Ringo.
Yeah. Well, Wyatt also, he was telling the guys that were left in his crew, like, hey, when this thing starts, just, you guys need to get out of here, because it's not going to be over.
Right. Well, they told Ringo's instructions were, you take these people and kill everybody else.
Yeah. But he knew they were going to do that.
Right.
Or something like that.
But Doc's walking up and he's dressed in black, kind of like Wyatt always is, and he has his hat down low. And Ringo says, oh, I didn't think you'd show. He raises his hat and he goes, I'm your Huckleberry. He's like, oh, fight ain't with you.
He's like, why, Johnny Ringo? You look like somebody just walked over your grave.
He's like, we started a game we didn't get to finish.
Remember, play for blood.
Yeah, he's trying real hard to get out of it.
Yeah. And he was like, this time it's legal. And shows him the badge, and he's like, all right, Lunger.
Yeah. But it's weird. He has a cigarette that he takes out of his mouth and holds in his hand. In what I believe to be his dominant hand. And they just circle each other forever. He's and like, say when. And then he just pulls it out with what I believe to be his non-dominant hand and shoots him very quickly.
Well, he kept just tapping his... He tapped the butt of the pistol a couple times, then he tapped his belt, and I guess he saw something in Ringo's eyes. He shoots Ringo and spins the gun and reholsters that motherfucker before Ringo can even pull his gun up, and he's standing there like...
Never dropped a cigarette.
Yeah. Ringo hasn't even fallen to the ground. He's like, you know Daisy? You know Daisy at all.
Yeah. Kind of helps him to the ground.
And then he's standing over him. He's like, poor soul, you were just too high-strung.
Yeah, Wyatt hears the shots and runs up. And Doc's like, oh, the strain was more than he could bear. Now, I got some Ringo fun facts. You want them? All right. In reality, Johnny Ringo did not die at the hands of Doc Holliday. I'm sorry. I know that's your favorite part. Ringo's body was found lying against the trunk of a large tree in West Turkey Creek Valley. A neighboring property owner heard a single gunshot on the afternoon of July 13th and discovered Ringo's body the following day. His feet were wrapped in strips of cloth torn from his undershirt, probably because his horse had gotten loose from its picket and bolted with his boots. There was a bullet hole in his right temple and an exit wound at the back of his head. His revolver had one round expended and was found hanging by one finger in his hand. His horse was found 2 miles away and his boots still tied to the saddle. The coroner's inquest officially ruled his death a suicide. But it happens much better in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
But I thought when he said in the movie the strain was more than he could bear...
It was hilarious.
But when he said the strain was more than he could bear, but in real life he killed himself, I thought that all synced up well.
Could be.
Doc said, I wasn't quite as sick as I was putting on.
Yeah. And when Wyatt leans down to look at Johnny Ringo, he notices the badge, and he kind of picks it up, and he's like, my hypocrisy only goes so far.
Right. let's finish it. And then it just goes to a finish it montage.
Pow! Pow!
They're just shooting everybody. If it's moving, they're shooting it.
Pow! 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 Pow!
They finally happen upon Ike. Because the whole time they're doing this, I'm like, do they ever kill Ike? What happens? They happen upon Ike. They're chasing him down, and he's like trying to take his sash off. And he goes, here, look, and throws it, and they just let him go. Pussy.
He fuckboy number one.
I mean, to his credit, he was like the last cowboy left, though.
Still, like, Ike is the worst of all of those people. Because with Curly Bill, you don't really see that, like, psychopath part of him, but he got to his position somehow.
I think even Curly Bill was scared of Ringo, though.
Yeah. But you knew, with those guys, you knew exactly where you stood and when. But Ike was always just trying to play the easy way out all the time. They should have just shot him. They should have shot him when he was talking shit at the bar at Virgil. He should have just shot him in the face. But
they're finished with their revenge tour. And it goes to the Glenwood Sanitarium.
It's basically a hospice at this point.
Yeah, it is rough. Wyatt walks in, Doc's in bed, he's getting last rites from a priest. He goes, apparently my hypocrisy doesn't know any bounds.
Yeah. What do you say? I like the way he worded the exploring the... He's exploring something about the Catholic Church.
Yeah, I don't remember. I know what you're saying. But in this scene, Val Kilmer, he made the choice to lay on a bed of ice so he would be all shivery and uncomfortable and twitchy.
Wow.
And I was like, you couldn't just do that?
So Wyatt comes in, he brings him a book that he made. Apparently he's been coming by to play cards every so often.
Yeah, he's down $17. He's like playing both hands kind of situation, like Doc ain't moving. And he tells him, what are you doing? I keep telling you to stop coming here and you keep coming back. He's like, you know what you want. Go get it. And he tells him he was in love once with his cousin who was 15. And he's like, oh, that's great. What happened? He's like, she joined a convent over the affair.
Yeah, that was all fucked up. Well, I don't know if it was right before that or right after that. Wyatt says something about he wants a normal life. Mm-hmm. And Doc's like, there is no normal life, Wyatt. It's just life. Get on with it.
Right. He makes him leave.
He's like, if you were ever my friend, if you had any feelings or care for me at all, you would leave right now. Mm-hmm. And he stands up, thanks Doc for being there, and leaves.
But he looks at the book he gave him after he leaves, and he wrote it, My Friend Doc Holliday.
By Wyatt Earp.
Right.
But
and he looks down, he goes, well, I'll be damned. This is funny. And starts chuckling because he doesn't have boots on.
Yeah. Other than that, he'd always said he'd die with his boots on.
Says, I'll be damned really were the final words of John Henry Doc Holliday. To this day, historians have debated on why Doc said that. The main theory is that Doc had become a gunfighter and hoping someone would kill him and spare him the effects of the tuberculosis. He was amazed that the disease was what killed him, not the drinking, chain smoking, gambling, or gunfighting. So, that's why he, made it clear that gun was out of bullets, and he was walking up to people, he was getting off his deathbed to go fight, he didn't want to die like that. So then you go to Denver, where Wyatt has somehow, without Google or a cell phone, tracked down Josephine.
That is impressive.
That is impressive. She's in her dressing room getting undressed after a performance, and he walks, I can't remember what he said when he walked in.
Have you ever seen the sun rise over the Rockies? He says something about when it looks down on California.
Where you're in heaven. And they go outside and dance in the snow, and he tells her he doesn't have anything left, and he doesn't know how they'll live, but at least they'll be happy. And she's like, oh, my family's rich.
He's like, fuck yeah.
So they go dance in the snow, and he's like, next we'll get room service. And then the narrator comes back on. Wraps everything up.
Talks about how Wyatt Earp died he was in California when he died in 1929, and two Wild West Western movie actors. And it's like, Tom Mix wept.
Right. Ike died in a shootout at a robbery gone wrong 2 years after that. And Virgil, even though he only had one arm, became sheriff of some town. And so let's talk real life shit. Because I got some shit on old Josephine. Apparently, several things about old Josephine. It said that she was like a notorious liar. And that she ran away from home when she was like 13. And she made up her entire backstory. Like, she had this huge story about how her family was rich, but they super weren't. And she was this sophisticated lady, but wasn't. And then she sued to stop a bunch of movies and books from coming out because during, like, a 15-year period, she was a prostitute, and she didn't want that to get out. But she went by Sadie. Her middle name's Sarah.
Her stage name?
Apparently, her middle name was Sarah, and apparently Sadie used to be a nickname for Sarah. Who knew? My name's Sarah. I've never known that. But she went by Sadie when she was a prostitute. And there's records of that person being a prostitute. But she made up this, like, fantastical life, and her and Wyatt Earp did actually get married. Their marriage did not seem particularly happy from what I read online. They had hit it big in some mining town and had like $80,000 at the time, which they said was like now like $2.6 million, the equivalent. And they were living on that, but she was a big gambler and gambled it all away, so they died broke.
Damn.
Yeah. Said when he died, she didn't go to his funeral or help with his service.
Yikes.
And they had a family friend named Grace who was furious. Quote, she didn't go to his funeral even. She wasn't that upset. She was peculiar. I don't think she was devastated at all when he died. So.
Some people are weird.
After the funeral, like there was a casket and those people actually carried him. After that, she secretly had his body cremated and buried it in her family plot. Now, here's what's interesting about that she had his body cremated and they didn't have a happy marriage, is that she was Jewish, and Jewish law considers cremation destruction of property. It says that Jewish people believe that the soul does not immediately depart the body, rather it slowly leaves the body as it decomposes. Cremation, therefore, is considered to cause pain and even after death.
Oh, she was a psychopath.
So, I mean, I'm nobody. That's just from, a couple hours of research I may have done. But that seems all real questionable, right? That, like, she lies about all this stuff. They didn't seem particularly happy. And then she secretly had him cremated even though she was Jewish and in her culture it's known to cause pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, seems problematic. But, that has nothing to do with the movie, I guess. So I have actual movie fun fact. You want to hear it?
Sure.
So they had one director, Kevin Jarre, Jarre, who was fired. He only directed the scenes with Charlton Heston, and then he was fired. And then they hired a new director, George Cosmatos. But he was basically just director in name. He did nothing. They just hired him to make the studio happy and to, like, put his name on the papers, and they let Kirk Douglas actually direct.
I did see something. I was trying to find something I saw where he gave a lot of credit to Val Kilmer.
It said Kirk Douglas admits that after the original director was fired, he directed the majority of the movie.
Kirk Douglas or Kurt Russell?
Kurt Russell. What did I say?
Kirk Douglas.
I did not.
Twice.
I did not.
Run it back.
Kurt Russell admits that after the original director was fired, he directed the majority of the picture. According to Russell, the actual director served merely to make things run smoothly. Also, in an interview with True West, Kurt Russell stated that the film was nearly cast with Richard Gere as Wyatt Earp. But apparently he cut out a lot of his own lines and, like, didn't sleep for 3 or 4 days so he could act and direct it. Also, Willem Dafoe was almost Doc Holliday, which seems unnerving.
Yeah, I think Val Kilmer really shined in
really
that
good.
role.
I liked it. Well, that's what I got. What do you think of the movie?
I like it. It's one of my favorites. Because everybody gets caught on their bullshit. Except for, I wish they'd have shot Ike when he was running away trying to throw his badge down.
They could have shot Ike for sure. So, do you want to take a stab at the
Tomater? I already saw it.
You're pissing me off. You're not supposed to do any of that.
I don't try. It just comes up on Google when you...
Stop Googling it.
73.
73.
I did not see the audience. It only shows the critic score. So audience score, I'm going to say 85.
94.
Ooh, even higher.
The critics' consensus was, if you're seeking a stylish modern Western with a solid story and a well-chosen ensemble cast, Tombstone is your Huckleberry.
So they gave it a C? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
This movie, if you're looking for this shit, we'll get
Yeah. Pretty much. So, now it's time for
Ratchet Reviews.
1 star. It's incredible how they managed to cram 15 entire minutes of plot into a 2-hour movie.
I didn't feel that way at all.
I didn't either. I felt like the movie moved quickly and a lot happened.
A lot happened.
But there is a lot of those reviews.
I mean, there were different...
There was a lot that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there's wide open the whole love triangle.
Oh, a lot of people were real butthurt over that, too.
There's the whole Cowboys versus the law.
There's Doc's
whole
entire storyline.
Yeah,
a lot happens. 1.5 stars. The dialogue is all posturing, and there's never a significant threat felt from the villains. The last hour is completely laughable as Earp and his gang just kill a bunch of people and then suddenly have conversations about how much of a struggle it will be to win. The screenplay just does whatever it wants whenever it wants without any sense of character or cause and effect. Val Kilmer and the score by Bruce Broughton are the only highlights in an increasingly tedious and repetitive bore.
There was so much bullshit in that review.
But like I read everybody's Wikipedia page. Mostly how it happened. Like, I mean, I'm sure shit was embellished, but even the shit that you're like, oh, that was definitely embellished happened.
But they gotta think, like, they went through shooting these people. They're not challenging them to a duel. They're not right. Having a shootout. Most of the
people they shot were kind of, underlings that didn't particularly have a skill set like Johnny Ringo.
They just rode in on him, ambushed him. He's like, if I fucking see you wearing a red scarf or a red sash, I'm going to shoot you. And he rolled in. He drove his horse through a building and shot 3 people. He drove it through a building and shot 3 people. It wasn't like they were ready for him. Like, this fight at the end, like, Ringo set up a place. Like, he decided where they're going to meet.
He also knows
that's already sketchy as is.
He also knows he's not as fast as Ringo.
Yeah. Like, it's a totally different kind of fight.
Right.
You're not ambushing somebody or...
I didn't know about there is never a significant threat from the villain aspect. Like, he kills one brother, they kill one brother, they disable the other brother, they shoot at the girls, and at some point after that, they say, hey, I heard that they killed this guy's wife. Like, I didn't know who it was, and I asked you, and you're like, I don't know either. But, I mean, that was a significant threat from the villains.
Yeah.
Like, they were killing people left and right.
Not Ike, but everybody else.
Not Ike. 1.5 stars. This is another one of those movies that most people in my circle love, but which I just don't get. I really don't see why people like it. Val Kilmer plays Doc Holliday like a dandy. The love story with Earp and whoever is ridiculous.
I feel like if you're the only person in your group of friends that doesn't like all the movies they like, maybe they're not your group of friends. Maybe you need a different group.
Who in 2018 says like a dandy?
I don't know. I mean, is that good or bad?
I think that means like a little gay.
I didn't see that at all.
Like a dandy?
I think she was trying to say.
He.
Oh wow. He was trying to say that that's the only good part.
Dandy, a man unduly devoted to style, neatness, and fashion in dress and appearance.
He was classy. That's what they wore. He was
a man who gives exaggerated attention to personal appearance. And the love story actually happened. Like, that's how that went down.
I feel like if you're gonna shit on something for not being realistic. And especially if it's something like this where it's a fictional work about people who were real people.
Right.
Be like, hey, did this happen? It's like when I was watching Narcos on Netflix, and some of the stuff was like, there's no way this happened. So you Google it and you find out what did and didn't happen.
Right. But, like you said, he's the gentleman that really was how he dressed and acted. He was like the whatever cousin of the person who wrote Gone with the Wind, and she based Rhett Butler after him, who was very much that same well-dressed, fancy gentleman.
Is that the cousin he fucked? Or?
It is like the cousins, like, it's named after they have the same name, but it's not the cousin he fucked. But he did fuck his cousin, and she did go to the convent.
So weird.
Yeah. There's a character based on her in Gone with the Wind, too.
I mean, I know there were less people back then, but Jesus.
Well, apparently it was fine, because he's like, that's great, buddy!
Yeah. I mean, you can't really, he's on his deathbed, you can't be like, ooh.
That's funny. Alright, 1.5 star. Doc Holliday is cool and charming, but his character is defiled upon and forcibly smothered in the resulting flood of excrement this movie provides with other performances, terrible plot, and dialogue. Oh, sweet mercy, that romantic subplot is just excruciating. They should have just edited that out totally and saved us the cringe. Kudos to the mustaches, though. I love mustaches.
That person is weird.
You don't think? She didn't like the flood of excrement?
I don't think you can legit call this a flood of excrement.
They like Doc Holliday.
Then it's not a flood of excrement.
Everybody else. I mean, I don't feel like you could talk shit about Kurt Russell in anything. Who I really do not think I called Kirk Douglas earlier.
You did. You'll see when you're editing.
I don't know how I'm going to edit around it.
Not now.
2 stars. Underwhelming. Had expected more from this Western. Wyatt Earp was quite a boring character, and he didn't have a despicable villain to go up against.
I mean, they're pretty bad. Like, they're just killing people.
Bill and Ringo despicable.
The opening of the movie, they fucking shoot a platoon of police officers.
And then drug
at a
bride
wedding
in a church and raped her. I mean, you don't see him rape her, but that's definitely what they did.
Oh, yeah.
Like, 5 people don't take a girl in a church, like, by the hair for no reason. Yeah, it's also not like somebody was like, hey, I'm going to write this Western, and we're going to get this big, hooped-up villain. Like, it's how it happened.
Yeah.
They're real people. 2 stars. Wyatt Earp's Wikipedia page is more engrossing than this boring, mechanical waste of everyone's time. The climax literally happens in the first hour, and then the rest of the movie is a montage of chasing guys with red scarves. No one in the cast is allowed to be interesting, and music is super annoying. I really wanted to like this. But
they want some 2 Chainz up in that club scene? What?
I like the music. I really wanted to like this, but in the end, I was just uninterested. Please explain why I'm supposed to care about anyone in this textbook-structured TV movie. On the plus side, I kind of like Val Kilmer, which has never happened before.
Okay, so it wasn't your cup of tea. Why you gotta spout off to everybody about all the things you fucking hate? Why don't you, like, if people would just start being a little bit more positive instead of, hey, I watched this movie, I didn't really like it, so I'm gonna shit on it. If I watch a movie and I don't like it, I just don't talk about it.
I will say that everybody's Wikipedia page, especially if you go down the tunnel holes of who's fucking who, was very fascinating today. I think at one point I was like, I need a whiteboard and a marker because everybody be fucking everybody. It was, what did you say? You're like, oh, are you talking about your Western soap opera again? Or
yeah.
Wikipedia soap opera? 1 star. What a pathetic joke of a film. I've tried 3 times to watch this ridiculous movie. Each time I reach the same conclusion about 15 minutes in. It's a pathetic joke. A handful of milquetoast Hollywood pretty boys trying to look like tough guys. Their fine little mustaches are just so cute. Accents a complete joke. Terrible acting, laughable script. Why even bother making something like this?
Stop. They only got 15 minutes in?
They reached the conclusion 15 minutes in.
Well, you prejudge it, so therefore, if you automatically think you're going to like something, you're probably not going to.
I don't know what he's talking about. Their fine little mustaches are just so cute. The mustaches in this shit are fire.
Yeah.
Look at that mustache. God damn.
What is his name? Sam Elliott?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
You can't
Somebody go tell him he's
Sam
paper.
Elliott's mustache has to be like
pencil thin mustache.
It has to be like insured or something, right? Like how J-Lo insures her legs. Sam Elliott has to insure his mustache from like flames or something.
Alopecia and accidental clipper mishaps.
Yeah. Alright, I have this review. This is my last one. This is just for you, just because I know you love these so much. 2 stars. Why is Amazon charging for this old-ass movie? It's been on regular TV for some time now. It's not even good.
Wow.
Those are my reviews.
I always hope that those people make something and then people just constantly, can I get it for free? Can you just give it to me? Can you just give it to me? Like no, I spent like 7 hours making that.
Like,
I'm not just going to give it to you.
I don't understand why people think everything is supposed to just be free. Like, you rented it for $2.99 while you were sitting your fat ass on your couch. You didn't go to a Blockbuster. You didn't go to a Red Box. You didn't have to leave anywhere. Calm this shit down.
I thought of that the other day, of how Red Box is the new Blockbuster, but there's nobody works there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when Blockbuster was open.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody worked there either.
Okay, you cannot stream Tombstone anywhere for free. It's not on like Netflix or Prime. So we rented it. We own a DVD copy of Tombstone.
But we do not own a DVD player downstairs.
We were like, what the fuck are we going to play it on? Like, we have to go up to the game room and put it in a PlayStation to make it work. I was like, I want to sit on my couch in my living room. So I rented it. Happily. So I have some rest in peace. You want to do those first? You want to do your review first?
The rips.
Alright. Bill Paxton. And now is when you realize Bill Paxton died.
When did he die?
2017.
What from?
How did Bill Paxton die?
The cause of death of Bill Paxton was stroke.
Stroke.
Damn. I don't think I remember that.
So Bill Paxton, who was Morgan. Powers Booth, who was Curly Bill, also died in 2017. Charlton Heston, obviously. Harry Carey Jr., who was the marshal, or the mayor. Who was he?
Marshall.
And Robert Mitchum, who was the narrator. Everybody else is still kicking.
Then you got all the Cowboys, Johnny Ringo, Doc Holliday.
Okay, in real life, chill out. We'll be here for 3 more hours. We do the people that died in the movie. Alright. So you heard all the 1 stars. What you gonna give it?
I think I have to give it a 5.
Fucking 5.
It's like from the get-go, it's not real slow. There's a little bit in the middle, but it's still like there's so many quotes from this movie.
There are a lot of quotes.
Like
only from Doc, but
there's a bunch, but a lot, the majority from Doc. And there's some that I didn't remember him saying. Like, what did he say? Is when Wyatt slapped that kid with his gun after he said he was gonna fight him when they were taking Ike out, and they wouldn't give Ike his guns back, and he bumped into that kid. He said he missed an excellent opportunity to keep his mouth shut. I feel like that's an everyday quote right there.
You are going to use that?
Yes.
Oh my
and
God,
I can't believe
you're going to use that.
Yeah. I can't believe I never caught that before. I didn't even catch it this time. But yeah, I give it a 5. It's one of my favorite movies. Like, if it's on TV, it hasn't really been on in a while. There for a while, it was on like every day.
It was on a lot.
But if there's nothing else on TV, you could always just flip to this and watch some of it.
I'll give it a 5.
I mean, even the most boring part of this whole thing is this sanitarium scene with Wyatt and Doc's done, but he still slides a quote in there.
I didn't realize how upset Wyatt Earp looks when he sees him getting his last straw. He's like, motherfucker, you know he's done. Like, he looked like he was positively beside himself. Father Freeney and I were just investigating the mysteries of the Church of Rome. Was what you were looking for earlier.
Yep. He did a good job of being like, his voice was giving out a little bit.
He's laying on ice.
That's his fault.
That's what I was thinking. Dude, no.
What you give it?
I said I'd give it a 5.
Really? Would you consider it one of your favorite movies?
No.
No? But how you gonna give it a 5?
But I could watch it.
You can also watch Twister.
Yeah.
What's another one that you didn't think was your favorite movie?
It was Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park's not bad. I like Jurassic Park.
See? It's a good movie.
Twister's good. It's not real rewatchable.
Also, Bill Paxton.
It's not real rewatchable. Though.
Yes, it is.
Not to me.
Very rewatchable.
To you.
Yeah. Well, we're different people.
I'm about to go on
Me,
Amazon and
you.
flame you for that.
I reckon. You got anything else?
I'm good. Have you figured out what movie you're gonna do?
I think we're going to do The Breakfast Club next week. From 1985. And Jason's face, when he made the face, just brought it home.
Not a terrible movie.
What is wrong with The Breakfast Club?
I just never really liked it. We'll see how. I haven't watched in a really long time.
What is not to like? There's somebody for everybody to identify with.
That's true. There's most everybody for people to identify. I don't remember it being bad. It's been a long time since I watched it though. What made you pick that one?
I was folding laundry and I folded my Breakfast Club t-shirt.
I guess that'll do it.
I was like, hey, that'd be a good one. And you keep bitching that we keep doing all these like mid to late 90s movies and it's from 1985.
That's been Run It Back for Tombstone. I'm Jason.
I'm Sarah. You can follow us on our social media accounts on Twitter at PodRunItBack, on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Run It Back Pod. Tune in next week for The Breakfast Club.
There's no normal life, Wyatt. It's just life. Get on with it.